Welcome to Soul Interviews on soulandeffect.com. The sound of emotion.
Yeah, good to see you guys.
All right, well, let's get it
The
going.
Calloway brothers in the house.
Pasadena
Yeah, and you have a lot of new things
in the
going on
house.
here. I've heard the how do you say, updated version of Freak-A-Zoid, and that was very cool. And you have a new single on the way called Six Pack, an empowering song I have read. And I Want to Be Rich, of course, also with a message that should not be mistaken. As we're talking money, it's about your well-being. Is it important for you guys to have those empowering messages?
It definitely is. As we all mature, get older, the aches and pains you take for granted become more apparent, more visual, and more physically connected. And then you see younger people just living a glorious life, not even considering it. It reminds you of your own youth when you said that you felt that you were invincible. You can do this, you can do that, you can stay up all night and you can party, you can work all day and party all night. And then you start realizing that there's an internal clock that's ticking. And you wanted to not only live long, but live well. Sammy Davis Jr. once said that if he knew he was going to live that long, he'd have took better care of himself.
Am I right when I say
We're definitely all about
the
that.
impression anyway from the outside is that the both of you have been trying and you live a healthy lifestyle? You have been into martial arts and because I know it's the music industry and maybe all creative jobs you have, it takes a lot of you from the inside, and you need to find maybe ways to relax and to instead of maybe drinking and taking drugs. It's a very special job you have had. And next year what's happening? It's a 50th year anniversary since you founded Midnight Star. It's 50 year next year.
Whoa. Okay, thank you for that.
Feeling for you guys to live a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, I think finding a balance. We've been pretty lucky. Well, I started martial arts as a kid.
Wow.
I guess it's coming up on 50 years for me for my martial arts training. I think and also I think it's one of my contributions to the group is Midnight Star is bringing in some of my experience in the training, health and fitness, conditioning, regulating the breathing, all the things that our musicians need. We're kind of discovered as a high energy group, but I think a lot of it is because we trained on a daily basis. So when we start going out on tours, I think what really helped out too was instead of getting into the party, and if we were on a tour bus, we were writing songs in the hotel. We go out to the pool, we exercise, find some type of way to stay healthy and physical. But partying only lasts so long before your body starts to break down, and you can't get healthy on the roads. You have to kind of prepare before you go out, and then hopefully you can try to maintain it a little. And that's probably been one of our big things. Even now, and I still have students that I train in martial arts and Tai Chi and health and fitness, and so it's our daily routine to try to maintain that, to stay healthy, as well as spread those messages to all of our friends and fans and family.
Yes, for sure. Everybody hears the stories about the rock and rollers tearing up the hotel rooms and getting wasted and partying all night and doing heavy drugs. Well, that was never us. we were the Goody Two Shoes band. We toured with them all. We toured with Rick James. That's a funny thing. Rick James would make us stay in our dressing room when he walked by to go on stage. It's probably the best thing he could have did for us. we resented it, but come to think about it, that was probably a good
The
idea.
most
We
important
didn't need to
view
see
in
all that
life.
moving around up that close. We just go up on stage and try to whoop up on him on stage before he came out there. We get his crowd nice and warm. Yeah, we were the goody two shoes. Said they always see us exercising, always see us trying to eat and drink healthy. It's so many things you take for granted. Just the idea of self maintenance that you got to encourage today. It comes to simple things like brushing your teeth, twice a day. When you're out on the road, and you come off the stage, if you don't get those teeth brushed before you get on the tour bus, or as soon as you get on there, you might miss that day, and that day might turn into 10 days, and then you're going down the rabbit hole. Or if you don't exercise before you go on stage, and you're young, you just wing it, right? But longevity has a whole nother vibe. Some of our mentors that we see, it was incredible to go backstage, say hello to Charlie Wilson at the Cincinnati Music Festival, and go in Charlie Wilson's dressing room and see him stretching and doing his vocal warm-ups, going over his choreography, all before going on stage. And he's about our age, maybe a little bit older. And just to see that lets you, there's longevity in this. To see Smokey Robinson, who looks amazing. Barry Gordy is like, Barry Gordy got a deal somewhere. I don't know. He didn't cut a deal because he doesn't look any different than he did when he was 70. He's not a musician anymore. Of course he's the king of the lifestyle that could be doing all that. Longevity is really a fun thing. Unfortunately, we lost a lot of artists very young. And when you think about some of the people that you really, really admire. When I was watching the Mozart special, they're playing all of his songs. This guy had a lot of hits. Mozart didn't just make classical music. His songs became hits. I'm like, the
I need a hit
Magic
song.
Flute, let's go. but he passed away at 35 years old. Right there with so many other. There's like, is that fun? To burn it all out at one end and just be gone. Or would you rather be around like Clint Eastwood and the fellas?
Hope to talk to you again when we are about
Try to
90
have a
years
good
old,
time.
guys.
Yeah, so I Want to Be
Yes.
Rich. I Want to Be Rich began to touch on that when we wanted to share with people that, hey, there's nothing wrong with wanting the finer things in life. You got to change your mindset, because a person that's potentially born in poverty can be all they know, all they see. They could come from even another country, a third world country, and they've never been outside of their one little area. But there's much more in this world. This world is full of abundance, and it's full of abundance in all areas. We talk about love, peace, and happiness, that richness as well as the wealth that is to be shared. But as we began to mature even further, after studying martial arts, after studying yoga, after studying Tai Chi, after seeing what really is important, because you can be very rich but can't get out of bed. Oh, that's no fun. And so we came up with Six Pack, which delves into that whole thing from a deeper standpoint. Everyone looks at it and says, well, you're talking about getting your six pack back, your stomach tight again. And then we realized that was shallow. That's just the surface. Because one of my friends says, everybody has a six pack. It's just fat covered it up. So we began to look at how to uncover the fat. So the six pack is based upon 6 principles that really can help to develop your entire life, as Vincent said, with balance. Your mental, your physical, your social, your emotional, then your financial, then and not in any order, but your financial and your spiritual. So you want to have a well-balanced life in all those areas. And under each one of those, there's another 6 And under each one of those is another six. So you can keep building your life out, in these six areas to where, you're creating this strong pyramid for yourself that can really keep you accountable and touch on everything on a daily basis to see what's important to you as you do transition. Did you cover the areas that were important to you? Did you have, a wonderful social life? Did you keep your emotional and your mental state of mind to the point to where you can function and share and be of advice to others? And it just goes on. It never exhausts itself.
I haven't
The
heard the song.
possibilities
What
of
can you
your
say
personal
about
six
the
pack.
music?
Funky. It's fun, and it's so funny because when you hear the song body, the core, shows a lot about, our lifestyle and where we at. So we kind of constantly have to put emphasis on that. But um, then when you add the layer of, the meaning, which, you kind of see some of it in the video when it comes out, it kind of say, oh man, okay, it's not just, just one thing. Like I want to be rich, the first message is, I want money, lots of money. And then, then you get into a deeper, love, peace, and happiness. It's kind of like the hitting the mule between the eye with the 2x4. So you need something to get their attention. I coined from my mom. Well, I guess when we did Freak-A-Zoid, she was like, yeah, sometimes you got to hit the mule between the eye with the 2x4.
Then give them the message.
We had to do that with Freak-A-Zoid in order for people to look at the wet my whistles and the slow jams and and all the other uh, really great songs that came behind it.
And you can never really tell what's going to be an iconic song out of your catalog. As Vincent mentioned, looking back, Freakazoid, iconic, began the whole sound of techno funk. If you look back, I Want to Be Rich, iconic message, pop anthem. To make Six Pack be one of those songs would be great through the point of message, not to the point of hit record on the charts, because that's not doable without $1 million in today's world. But you can go grassroots and change the world, which is what our goal is. We want to change the world, get people onto their pre-diagnosed uh, messages of what's going on with their body, so they can catch disease early. Very, very high affinity to cancer, particularly breast cancer in women that, if detected early, can be, eradicated. So all those type of things. But so we broke rules in this song because we knew that our original audience, I just turned 70. So our original audience is somewhere between 40 and 80. But there's this new audience that's 17 to 35 that they need the message too. They're the ones that can benefit from the message because they have their whole life ahead of them. The song breaks the rules and has two tempo changes. We're addressing our regular funk listeners, and then we're also addressing our hip hop funk listeners. And with another section of the song, so it's wild and crazy, and your emotions get turned up when we count the transition off 3, 2, 1, and then we off to somewhere else, and that's when you're on your exercise bike, and that's when you're kicking it to that next gear, and you double timing it. So that's the way life is. You got to be able to put on the pedal to the metal when it counts. We hope that song does that for, as Gladys was saying, another one of our anthems, Jumpstart My Heart. So we want everybody to jumpstart their heart, get the pedaling, get the exercise, and be healthy. Be brothers on
You
Star
told
Trek.
me, or maybe the time before that, it was that when you and Vincent were going solo with the Calloway, you were not used to sing, so you rehearsed in the shower singing, and you need to go to vocal coaches. Tell us a little about that transition from musicians to vocalists. Did I reveal a secret now, Reggie?
Oh, I I go after you, Reggie.
But to me, yeah, it's really ironic because for me, I always felt like a singer from the projects of Louisville, Kentucky, standing on the corner under the street lights, 4 or 5 years old, singing "Do." I was so excited. We had rehearsals at 8 o'clock in the morning, rain, snow, sleet, hail. We had to walk there, get there, whatever you had to do to be there, and don't drink any milk before you get there because it makes your voice get all gloggly and stuff. But after a few years of that, uh, it was time for well, it was all city boys choir probably each year, but by my sixth grade, which is like the senior year of elementary school, was the big year that I thought I'd make the all city boys choir, and then I wasn't chosen. They chose Fred Hirsch. Fred Hirsch became one of the world-renowned pianists for jazz. I was sitting there next to a prodigy because Fred could play any music sight read it in the fourth, fifth, and sixth grade, and that's largely why he was picked because he could back up the whole choir and give them their parts. He was like Mozart,
Playing with hands.
all of 2 feet tall, sitting on telephone books to play. So they went to junior high school, and I said, "Wow,
Right.
I didn't make the choirs." I think I started playing trumpet, which is what our father played. And Vincent tell you about how he sit us on his lap and play for us, and well, that was embedded. And then I'd always go by the pawn shop and see the horn sitting. And my mother said, if you play trumpet, then we'll wrench your horn. And if you get in the band, we know you won't, you have less chance of quitting. So that way we'll get you this trumpet. And that's what happened. Got in the marching band. But that led all the way up to got me to college. On tour with my bands and singing backgrounds. But later, the first tour of going across the country from Cincinnati to Las Vegas. Into that tour, I said I got to go to college. I have to learn more about music because this is what I've chosen. We were getting blown off the stage by uh, this Vegas band. They were playing originals. We were playing all cover songs, and I knew what I wanted to do: write songs, play songs, and being the youngest person in the group, me 18, they were 26. So got back home and began to prepare for college. Got a scholarship to Kentucky State University for trumpet. So the trumpet got me in the door. Uh, Met some of the Midnight Star guys there, formed the camaraderie. But your original question was, okay, now we've left Midnight Star, and now it's time to sing again.
Bad
So
karma, Reggie.
at that point, I was like, okay, whoa. If you want to be the best, if you want to be good, it's not about being the best unless, that is what it's hard to measure certain things, but you can measure better. You can even measure betterer, but you can't measure the best, except for when you measure against the best. So I wasn't going to mess with Pavarotti and anybody like that. I knew we could get better. Michael Jackson has a vocal coach. Michael Jordan has a jump shooting coach, a training coach, a fitness coach, a stretching coach. So that's what the guys do. So the first thing we did was enlisted Michael Jackson's coach, his vocal coach, to begin to study with us. The mighty Seth Riggs also taught Natalie Cole and trained so many greats in the business.
Stevie Wonder, Barbra Streisand, and go on and on.
Go on and on and on. So making it over to Seth Riggs' place was a joy. And then we later got to produce Natalie. That combination was great. But the training, the studying, deciding, which artists you liked, which ones you gravitated towards as far as style wise, and which ones would lift you up, and which ones would make you want to, reach higher and higher. So it was a lot of fun. To this day, uh, still want to continue to train because it's all in the training, it's all in the practice. And as you talked about practicing in the shower, I got that from Gerald Levert. I said, Gerald, how do you warm up? So I warm up in the shower. Every time I'm in the shower, I sing. I said, Gerald, what do you sing while you're in the shower? He says, whatever comes to my mind. I said, dang, if that's good enough for Gerald Levert, second generation Eddie Levert, I guess that's good enough to me. then I learned stuff from Eddie Levert. I said, "What do I do?" Eddie's like, "You got to listen to the tones. You got different voices inside of you. You know, you got your head voice, you got your chest voice, you got the soft voice, you got all these different voices. You got to work on all those different voices to be more versatile and to have longevity." So we know we learn from all the cats that we can. Hey, go on, Vincent, get in there.
Oh yeah, well, um, I think one of our first big concerts we went to was to see the Jackson Five. I guess I was maybe 10 years old. Of course, we were hearing kids sing during that time, which always inspires you. I think I was Michael Jackson. Reggie was what you say was Maine, and of course they're about the same age. I'm actually probably a little older than Michael Bay, about a few months or a year. But we're here, we our mom would say, you guys go to concerts, you're not going to be entertained. You're going to study, musicians and artists or whatever, you have to go and study. So we had a chance to see, of course, Earth, Wind& Fire, and you got Philip Bailey and with the amazing falsetto on Maurice White, and then you got Parliament Funkadelic, Lennon and the Mothership in Cincinnati. But as a kid, I think probably my first instrument started off on piano. Uncle Stanley was teaching me some basic things on piano. I was having some, troubled times. I almost burned up the house, the kitchen, playing around with fire, with matches or whatever. And
I thought he was trying to cook, and he tells us now he's playing around with that.
oh man, edit. We need
I'd
to
never be able
edit.
to play the piano if he wasn't playing around with that. I stole the piano.
But the point I'm making is my mom could have, dealt with a different situation, but she wound up, buying a piano for me, to do something constructive. But Reggie brought home, later Reggie brought home his trumpet from school when he started, and he taught me how to buzz the mouthpiece. And I'll say, oh, so long story short, I got hooked on the trumpet, and I was out doing little gigs, probably still in elementary school. Didn't start any formal training until junior high. Start putting together, little groups, local groups. Reggie's group with Reggie, my oldest brother Greg, which is a percussionist, drummer, would hold concerts at the high school, which I hadn't gone there yet. What was it called, Reggie? Was it Woodrock?
Man. Woodrock was the concert and the band. Became a band
Yeah.
later.
So my little group would go over and perform, and some of my junior high school musicians were singing until I guess we probably started Calloway, because even with Midnight Star, I was playing horn. I played trumpet, and then later I wound up buying a trombone for $25. And then once we got to going and start doing some recording, when it got to the No Parking album, Reggie, um, myself, and Bill Simmons, went out back and started working on Freak-A-Zoid, which was kind of life and death, groundbreaking move, which the horn section, came together to write Freak-A-Zoid. Kind of freaked up with trying to create a vocoder sound out of some guitar pedal. Later on, we got a vocoder, so that became a voice for me, within the band. So that became almost like another lead voice. But Belinda, and then of course Reggie sang too. Well, everybody, all the members, did some singing, but sort of vocoder became. And then it's Calloway. And I say, oh man, I've been hearing all these voices in my head. I've probably been messing around on my own, but that was my first opportunity to, stretch out. And once we started taking vocal lessons, I started finding that I had a decent range, and just went from there. But
I mean,
it was a journey.
I was going to say another one of my significant training was even after I Want to Be Rich and the Let's Get Smooth and all that, sold all of its properties to Sony, and Sony picked which acts they wanted to keep and which ones they wanted to let go. They kept Babyface and let everybody else go. So there was a hiatus period in there. So it occurred to me that I missed all of my nightclub training as a singer because I was playing horn. When we formed Calloway, we were immediately catapulted, to out front. because even with Midnight Star, even though we were touring, still playing horn 90% of the time, and some singing, but not really the lead singing or background. So I decided to use this sabbatical to go back and capture all this soul and pop and classic music that I never sang. So there was a spot called Carlo and Johnny in Cincinnati, owned by this eccentric, famous restaurateur, Jeff Ruby, and he had a little club upstairs. And I said, let me play upstairs for a while. Wow! So I had a little small 3-piece band. Just any song that came into to my mind that I wanted to learn, because you're singing them on the radio, you just kind of figure along. I think we started out with Brick House, What's Going On, just going through the whole.
A big repertoire.
That was a heck of an education, to try to catch up of 20
And I
years
mean,
of
in
music,
the 70s, 80s
4 nights a week.
Ohio, it was very much funk. I guess we can agree on that. And both you and Vincent, be
Yes.
very, when you want to achieve something, you seem to prepare yourself very well and to try to investigate how to do things in the best possible way, so as prepared as possible for a new task. And I was thinking of No Parking, for example. That was a rather groundbreaking sound. Were you inspired by, for example, Africa Bambaataa and Planet Rock? Or where did this electro-funk sound came from? Right.
Yeah, not so
Freak-A-Zoid
much.
and...
You mean the No Parking album? Not so much the No Parking song. Yes, yeah, Freak-A-Zoid. Yes, indeed. We were definitely hearing that music, and we were studying a lot of the music, and that was not really like a radio thing in the Midwest. So even though we were
Ohio
studying
players.
Cameo, Has Been, Roger and Zapp, Ohio players earlier, we would definitely study them. We could go see the Ohio players and stand 20 feet away from them, on a regular basis. James Brown, every year he would perform for the kids for 99 cents. So our training goes all the way back to that. The African bravado things we heard, on the...
Right. Just a melodic funk sound. And I think that
And also, one of the other big things it was played all live.
That's impressive as well.
We didn't know
I
how to
mean,
work a
it
sequencer.
sounds studio, but I mean,
We had hard hitting funk because we didn't know how to sequence.
no loops
We
at
had to
all.
restart it every in the
There were
pocket.
the solar sound.
No
It's the
time
cake, and I don't know how much Leon Silvers was part of this electrified sound that came from Solar, or you guys were as involved as him in creating the Solar sound, or is there a Solar sound?
Well,
Yeah.
go ahead, Vincent.
Oh no, well, definitely Leon Silvers, I mean, was amazing. He actually produced was our second Midnight Star album. So Reggie had an opportunity to work closely with Leon, which kind of got his production chops up really good. Leon just had pretty brilliant way of putting things together with Shalimar, the Whispers, and then later on we actually
Contagious.
produced things on the Whispers. We did Ellie and
Right.
Babyface. Yeah, exactly. Ellie and Babyface, first hit record, Body Talk. got them signed to Solar Records. And then we did Meet in the Ladies' Room for Climax, and did something for Carrie Lucas. I guess we did have you know, a big part of, kind of shaping some of the Solar sound. So you hit those contrasts, and then just moved on from.
Yeah, with Lynn, and that was the demo. Dick Griffey heard it, says, "I like it. Let's go cut it." That's ears, right? And that was our first working with Leon. And then the second album, we said, well, let's let Leon do the whole album. And that's when we really had a chance to learn a lot of the techniques of Leon's style, the pocket, harmonies, how to layer tracks, how to layer vocals with the capabilities of punching in and punching out. Really were, expanding all that. And by this time, Leon had, and the beat goes on, the whispers, second time around, Shalimar. That was really the initial Solar sound, very, very pop, very melodic. But because Leon was a bass player, it had great funk value to it, and he had some great guys with him as well, Wardell and Kevin Spencer. They had a great team. So when they connected with us, and they were able to tap into some of the things that we were bringing from the Midwest, Ohio, Michigan, Indiana. That's where our bases were, Kentucky. So Leon had to. He was with Dynasty. So we actually co-produced a song that they used on a Dynasty album, which was fun to flip that around. It appeared on both of our projects in one form or another. But on the third album, Dick Griffey said, "Why don't y'all just go back to Cincinnati and make the next album?" And that was the real training ground, because now we're back in our stomping ground. None of that pretty LA music. we're trying desperately to get back to the funk. We're working with Bootsy Collins. He's featured on one of our tracks, coming in the studio every day, messing with us. It's more or less saying, keep making that pretty music, because we're still making all the chord changes and pretty music. And Roger's like, yeah, he was subliminally saying, y'all better get back to this funk, because I'm eating good
Bootsy
over here.
lives and
And the record
breathes
says, y'all,
funk.
yes, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, our big brother. Yeah, so even the song we did with Bootsy, did all right. The record company was still trying to find their right distributor. So a lot of our things were on two different distribution companies. So not only we're trying to find our sound, the record label was trying to find the right distribution partner, so that you can't get a
Were
hit
you
on the charts.
inspired by
This is the
science
problem.
fiction movies?
But
Because there was this planetary feeling of some of the album covers, and were inspired by science fiction movies with the sounds and with the covers and etc.
Yeah, with the first cover, the beginning of our first album, Reggie can go into it deeper too, but um, growing up, I think the thing we're missing now is looking at the album covers. You can see that, the artist's album cover, you can read all the credits and see who performing what, who are the musicians, what studio was recorded in, who did the album cover. And I think Earth, Wind& and Fire was definitely one of our big influences. And the album covers were like, I mean, we couldn't wait to see what was coming up next, or the Pyramid, or what else. And we actually had opportunity to use the same artist that did their album covers. I can't remember his name, Touche or something like that. But and we had a chance to go by his house and see, some of the earlier, productions on the beginning of the beginning album, which was a spaceship. Midnight Star was the name of this. That was just, really groundbreaking for us to get a chance to experience that.
yeah, it was totally inspired by film. The day the Earth stood still, and the spaceships and the 50-foot woman. Back to all that stuff, Boris Karloff and all those games. But anything that you know the original Star Treks and all that stuff was so much fun. And we just carried it through. As Vincent said, when we came up with the name of the group, just kind of, I believe he said Star, and I thought about it, and I said Midnight Star, and immediately, without much thought, the slogan came: if you could look into the night, if you could look into the darkness and see the light, if you could look into the darkness and see the light, then you too can be a midnight star. So we were always projecting that, which carried on through the Standing Together album, and even the Victory album looks like it came off the crest of a spaceship.
Mm-hmm.
The weeds have grown over it, from grounded too long. In our new Freak-A-Zoid, it's an illustration by Calloway, my son. The story is that, as you know, you may not know that me and Vincent are Freak-A-Zoids because we keep it hitting so well. Yeah. But we're stationed on Earth. Female Freak-A-Zoids from planet FZ come to retrieve us and take us back. Our time on Earth has elapsed, and now it's time to go back. But every time they try to find us, we're already gone. We just helped some kids, and now we're off. They follow us, and now we just helped out some elderly people, and now we're off again. So they follow us again. The next time we're trying to disarm this anti-funk bomb. We can't really necessarily get it, and they help us. The Freak-A-Zoids help us, and we have a discussion, and they decide that we're doing so much good on Earth that we're allowed to stay for another term, and they fly back off to planet FZ. So we're still here.
Both of you seem to have a how do you say, a big spirituality. Has that been a part of you all the way in your journey, and has it influenced you in the way you work, the spirituality? You mentioned Earth, Wind and Fire. I mean, Maurice White was also extremely spiritual.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I think in our own way, I think a lot for me, studying martial arts as a kid, it kind of opened my eyes to a lot of different philosophies and different things, and constantly studying and researching, and to just have the physical and not tap into the spiritual, is really could be one dimensional. We just always searched around and found those type of things. As funky and fun as Freakazoid is, it still has its own, spiritual energy, and as well, and like you say, talking about outer space, Freakazoids, robots, please report. Talking about asteroids and all different things. Keep it, we keep it fun, keep it light as well. Definitely have to have some spirituality about yourself. Have some depth into what you're
There are
doing,
some, yeah, Reggie.
at least for us.
Definitely. I was gonna say, you said the words, and that's the name of the second. That was the name of the first Calloway album, All the Way. Yeah, we're all about trying to supply some uplift for people, and we use fun, as Vincent said, as a way to open the mind. And then once we have opened it, we try to leave some nuggets of hope,
When you left
possibilities.
Reggie, Midnight Star, was that a decision of your own, or was it because of disagreements within in the group? Midnight Star was one of your inventions.
Yes, it's definitely a very, very proud invention. Brought together some really, really great people, and so proud of them. Did some great things. But yeah, it was a decision based upon uh, timing. You could, because everybody grows in different ways in different directions. there's a certain point to where you could say, well, I'm going to wait later, and damage can be done. Or you could even say, well, I should have left earlier, but it wasn't time. So when it's time, you got to be ready to make that move and leave where you can salvage as much friendship and love as possible, and you have enough energy to rebuild. Yeah, sometimes you leave when you've given everything, and you can't recover. So we left at a time where, as you can see, we had another 4 number one records in a row. We launched Calloway with another classic. We're still able to do things. Our directions have even changed again. Our videos, when you see the 6-pack video, it's like a movie. We're getting into expressing those sides of ourselves, not only musically and cinematically. Yeah, it's just great. And the group is still performing, carrying on the name, so we're happy about that. All those great songs get to be continued to promote.
I mean, maybe you are a person,
It's a
Reggie,
good.
that likes progression, that you want to constantly evolve. That can also create a conflict within a
Well
group.
said.
Because for example, producer Nick Martinelli,
Yes.
he was big in the 80s. Yeah, we lose ends. The British group lose ends.
Yeah, we know Nick.
Yeah,
You have to
and Carl McIntosh,
excuse me for a
he
second.
wanted to move on, to be more, hip hop became very big in the late 80s, early 90s, and he wanted to be more urban, more street, while Jane Eugene and Steve Nickel, they wanted to keep the sophisticated, slick sound and to keep working with Nick Martinelli. So that's why Carl McIntosh left. Am I right when I say that you are a bit restless? You want to move forward and constantly develop.
For me, being the leader and the founder, it's not recklessly moving forward. It's fulfilling the dreams that are already set. If they don't match everyone else, and from their point of view, it could be that. So I definitely see what you're saying and what can be felt
Right.
on many ends. But yet you have to move in harmony. Sometimes you have to, when you're young enough to lead them and bring along for as long as you can, then you do that too. For instance, the band didn't really want to record Freak-A-Zoid.
Yeah, I
Can you
can
believe
believe
that?
that, because it was, what are you on? What are you on,
I
Reggie?
can't do it. We were happy to bring everybody along, and
But I mean,
you got to be willing to take the risk. But we had nothing to lose because we hadn't had a big hit yet. That was the other part. So if you're gonna get a big hit,
they say that the Lord
be
works in
original,
mysterious ways.
be authentic.
Jam and Lewis, they got fired from Prince and became extremely successful
That's right.
producers. And you and Vincent, I mean, we should not forget about your production
Yeah.
career. That was incredible successful. No, I mean, take any name there. Teddy
Thank you.
Pendergrass, Natalie Cole, Lavert. How was it for you, Vincent, to become a production duo suddenly?
The amazing. I remember when we first signed with Midnight Star, and I remember they wanted us to fill out these sheets, talking about your goals, and I said I want to be a producer, and didn't know what a
Ask
producer
my
was.
brother.
And then to get the opportunity to work with the artists that we worked with, Natalie Cole was like
Mm.
legendary. Going back to our father, Nat King Cole, which we the time we did work with her, just sitting down during lunchtime talking about, those stories that she experienced, and, talking about her dad. And then, of course, Gerald Bird, you know, I don't know if we had actually met his dad, Eddie Levert, but we used to watch him at the Cincinnati Jazz Festival, and with the OJs, and just to hear his voice, he would stand 10 feet away from the microphone and sing and still fill up the whole stadium.
Yeah,
And
Gladys Knight,
then to
Love
hear Gerald,
Overboard.
and then of course Gladys Knight. Yes, I think well, parents grew up listening to Gladys Knight, and she started off as a child prodigy, young lady, probably around young girl, 4 years old, probably started singing. So she was just a master
Wow.
to finish Love Overboard in one take, and to see that type of talent and skill and confidence. And then, of course, Teddy Pendergrass, probably one of the greatest male vocalists in the world. And then to try to come back after a major, setback, accident, and try to figure out how to project his voice the way he did was amazing. It's like watching a world-class athlete that was injured, still trying to cross that finish line, just watching the whole process. And of course, he got a big hit. So, I think each of our production experiences, was growth for us as, how we approached our own records as Calloway. All of it was fun, working with the deal early on, Climax, the Whispers, some of our earlier, projects that we, kind of got our feet wet. And keeps on building, keeps
Six Pack, is that
energizing us.
the start of a new era for Calloway?
I think so.
I would definitely say so. We don't plan to stop. This is a 3-year burn at the least, and then
Are you
we'll
working
evaluate
on
the
new
next
material?
3-year burn after that.
Wow.
We have the next single after Six Pack already ready to go, and the other couple ones are already written. We're just going to put some spit shine on them.
Wow.
And this year there
That was
will be a Christmas
unexpected.
album. There will be a Christmas. Everybody's been, yeah. It's like, where are these guys been? What it is that what happens with most of the mature artists, legacy artists, they we have this issue with, don't they see me kind of an issue. Why don't they want to help me? It's the same one that the new artist has when they're trying to get started. Don't they know this? Don't they know? Why won't they? We have to do it ourselves. We have to build it, and they will come. And the ones who get that, they 9 times out of 10 get their wishes. But you don't build it over 6 months. You don't build it over 1 year. Like any business, you build it over 5 years, 5 or 6 years. And if you can break even in 3 years, then you can see something. But most businesses don't make it to 3 years. It's just like opening up a corner grocery store. They're out of business before 3 years. So if we can moderately do these in this new industry, you can moderately put yourself out there without spending the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars that we all know is required. But there's other ways to make yourself visible, whether you're a brand new artist or whether you're a legacy artist. And in this case, the legacy artist has the advantage if we can stop waiting on stardom all over again.
Yeah, we are almost done anyway,
Yeah, I think we
Vincent.
both.
Yeah, nice talking to you, Vincent. Okay, great.
You too.
No, I just want to say, so we have a new
I can still
single, we
hear.
have a Christmas album, and then we can expect a full album, funk album, electro-funk.
Yes, indeed.
For the 21st century.
Yes, yeah. Well, you'll get a lot of the vocoder stuff too on the Six Pack. So that'll be
That's great.
some familiar.
I won't take up your time any longer. We have been been talking now for an hour. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Nice to see you again, Reggie, and nice to meet you, Vincent. How was it now?
All right, Soli, we will not let the time pass.
I can't do that.
Yeah, we'll lock it in every time. Oh, you
Need to
had to put a
practice.
rubber band on it to get it.
Oh, we'll stay in touch.
I don't know if I can do both. That's a 83, 93, 2003, 2013.
Right.
That's 23. That's 23 years of practice.
The next time we speak,
22 years.
I will make it
23 years.
without any problems. Okay, take care, guys. The interview will be up
Okay.
maybe in 2 weeks because I'm on my way moving. But I'll let you know. I send you an email when it's up. Thank you very much for taking the time. Always an honor to talk to you. And I will make you a possibility to download it if you like Reggie as well. Yeah. Thanks.
Perfect. Yeah, I
It's
do.
an honor
There's
talking
some
to you
good
guys.
things in there. Good job, Sully.
May the force be with you.
Our pleasure.
Okay, bye. Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Welcome to Soul Interviews on soulandeffect.com. The sound of emotion.